There are fates worse than death, my friend. I have seen it with these scarred eyes. It lurks beneath, and its hunger, their hunger, is unmatched. We spent a month in search of an entrance to this kingdom we thought myth. A story Grandma told us to get us to listen. The Darakhul will come for you if you disobey. It was imprinted on our minds like a tattoo of eternal precaution of ever being cross with her. Yet more than that, it was a kindling to a firestorm of nightmares. So when I did find the entrance and then found my way down through those treacherous catacombs to the lair of their emperor, my brief celebration and surprise were cut short after I watched this pale yet seemingly polite aristocrat point a finger and utter a word at one of our clumsy guides, and the man fell dead. Oh, but he was the lucky one. As this emperor had his guards begin to search for us, I watched a true horror unfold before I escaped. Oh, as they fell upon my friends one by one, and my companions all became something else. Today, during our horror of Halloween pagan holiday bonanza, we'll take a deep, dastardly, devilish dive into the ghastly, gory, grotesque, might I dare say, glorious world of ghouls. We will glance, gander, and greet some of the more tame versions from across the realms and zero in on the often overlooked and underutilized. In fact, most don't even know of their existence unless you've been one of the many unfortunate to stumble upon their kingdom, or the possibly even more cursed that managed to escape it. I know, get on with it. I speak of the Darakhul. What makes them different from the ghouls that walk the halls of Congress or make movies in Hollywood? Some of the many variations include those in Arabic folklore. They are often depicted as female demons or shape-shifting spirits that dwell in desolate places like graveyards and abandoned buildings. Ghouls are said to have a particular fondness for human flesh, especially the flesh of the deceased, and they are known to be able to change their appearance to deceive humans. In Persian folklore, the ghoul is a malevolent creature that preys on travelers in the wilderness, often appearing as a beautiful woman to lure victims. Once they have entrapped a person, they reveal their true form and consume their flesh. In the North African and Middle Eastern legends, in some North African and Middle Eastern cultures, ghouls are often considered evil spirits or supernatural beings that are associated with the dead, and they are believed to haunt cemeteries and feed on the corpses of the deceased. Now in the West, in the many different forms they take in literature, some of them are portrayed as undead creatures similar to zombies, or reanimated corpses that feed on human flesh. In the Witcher series, which includes both the book series by Andrzej Sapkowski and the popular video game, which clocked many hours myself, ghouls are often considered necrophages. In the game, you'll see, and also in the books, they're described as grotesque and emaciated humanoid creatures with a hunched posture, bony protrusions, and sharp-clawed hands. Their most defining feature is their insatiable hunger for the dead, which often leads them to desecrate cemeteries and mass graves. They primarily feed on corpses, and they are known for their scavenging habits. They're attracted, as you know, if you played the game, to battlefields, crypts, and other locations where you can find corpses to devour.
Sir. A monster prowls the bog. Enter the mist and you'll never see home again.
This monster, tell me more.
Only seen it once myself. And that from afar and past dusk. Thought it were a man at first. Then it turned, and I saw eyes burning like coals and a jaw full of fangs, one next to the other.
Humanoid? Nocturnal? First attack. Remember when it happened?
A week passed, near about. It was then Boren vanished. Merrick and Tomil went looking for him, didn't come back either, them two. I were afeard. Now none dare venture into the bog.
Right, time I got to work. Where'll I find this monster?
Due to their preference for dead flesh, ghouls are not as dangerous to the living as some of the other monsters in the Witcher world. And they're mostly depicted as pack animals, often working together to swarm and overwhelm their prey. Their pack mentality and swarming behavior can make them challenging opponents in combat and in that game. Now for Geralt of Rivia, the ghouls are vulnerable to silver, and they can be repelled or injured by specific signs. Now some other popular ghouls, of course you have the Tokyo Ghoul in the popular manga series. That story revolves around Kaneki, a college student who becomes a half-ghoul after a chance encounter with one of these flesh-eating creatures. You also have the feral ghouls of the Fallout series. That's the post-apocalyptic world of Fallout, where the feral ghouls are mutated humans who have been exposed to high levels of radiation, like one might find at Chernobyl. Now, for H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, the ghouls are a race of subterranean humanoid creatures that inhabit the dreamlands. They are known for their strange costumes, particularly their cannibalistic tendencies, have made appearances in various Lovecraftian stories. In DC Comics, it's a supervillain named the Ghoul, and he's an enemy of Batman, is known for his proficiency in toxic substances and chemistry. And of course you got The Walking Dead, which I guess they're kind of ghoulish. The zombies, also referred to as walkers. You got them in Final Fantasy. In various installments of the video game, they are commonly depicted as creatures that drain life force from characters and can be challenging to defeat in that game, that's for sure. And of course we have our tabletop gaming ones. And in tabletop gaming, they're mostly known for their paralyzing touch in association with graveyards and burial sites. In the Dungeons & Dragons OG 1977 Gary Gygax Monster Manual, we have a short description for ghouls. Ghouls are undead, once human creatures, which fed on humans and other corpses. Although their change from human to ghoul has deranged and destroyed their minds, ghouls have a terrible cunning, which enables them to hunt their prey most effectively. Ghouls attack by clawing with their filthy nails and with fangs, and there's nothing worse than filthy nails. Anybody at Jiu-Jitsu can tell you. Their touch causes humans, including dwarves, gnomes, half-elves, and halflings, but excludes elves, to become rigid, paralysis, unless a saving throw versus paralyzation is successful. Any human killed by a ghoulish attack will become a ghoul unless blessed, or blessed and then resurrected. Ghoul packs always attack without fear. These creatures are subject to all attack forms except sleep and charm spells. They can be turned by clerics. The magic circle of protection from evil actually keeps these monsters completely at bay. And then it also lists the Lacedawn. Lacedawn is a maritime form of the ghoul. It conforms in all other aspects to the ghoul, and ghasts have an even shorter description. These creatures, this is ghasts now, these creatures are so like ghouls as to be completely indistinguishable from them, and they are usually found only with a pack of ghouls. When the pack attacks, it will quickly become evident that ghasts are present. However, for they exude a carrion stench in a 10-foot radius, which causes retching and nausea unless a saving throw versus poison is made. I truly believe that I definitely did a cab ride with a ghast. All right, those failing to make those saves will attack at a penalty of -2 to hit on dice rolls. Worse, the ghast attacks as a ghoul with regard to paralyzation, and this attack will affect elves as well. So elves don't get away from that one. Ghasts are on the undead class, so sleep and charm spells do not affect them. They are struck by any sort of weapon. Cold iron causes double damage, and clerics can turn them. The circle of protection from evil does not keep them at bay unless it is used in conjunction with cold iron, such as a circle of powdered iron, an iron ring, etc. These creatures are often used as slaves by powerful demons. And that would get us to the original description of our buddy Orcus. And anybody who's watched the channel knows that we love us some Orcus. Now, Orcus in the original monster manual, Prince of the Undead, it is probable that this creature is one of the most powerful and strongest of all demons. If he so much as slaps with his open hand, the blow causes 1 to 4 hit points of damage. His terrible fist can deliver blows of 3 to 13 hit points.
That's right, I can throw hands, baby.
If he uses a weapon, he strikes with a bonus of +6 to hit and +8 on damage. Additionally, his tail has a poison sting. Orcus can, at will, use any one of the following powers. He can cast Continual Darkness, Charm Person, Create Illusion, Cause Fear, Detect Magic, Read Languages, Detect Invisibility, Objects ESP, Cause Pyrotechnics, Dispel Magic, Clairvoyance, use Clairaudience, cast a 12-die Lightning Bolt, Suggest, Polymorph Self, Create a Wall of Fire, Telekinesis, a 12,000 gold piece weight, Animate Dead. I mean, is there anything he can't do? I mean, I don't think he can cook. That's probably about it.
Orcus can cook better than Gordon Ramsay. Don't doubt me.
He is deadly. Alright.
Thank you. Recognize.
In his original listing, he's listed as Supra Genius.
That's right. Orcus got the smarts.
His description, Orcus is a ghastly fat demon lord.
What? You don't call me that.
Some 15 feet tall, his huge gray body is covered with
Careful, human.
goatish hair, and his head is goat-like, although his horns are similar to those of a ram. His great legs are also goat-like.
That's right. Orcus does not skip leg day.
But his arms are human, vast bat wings sprout from his back, and his long, snaky tail is tipped with a poisonous head. So, not all head is equal. Poisonous would definitely be bad. Now, they've come a long way, and so has Orcus from the early days, because in the latest monster manual, ghouls are listed as ghouls roam the night in packs, driven by an insatiable hunger for humanoid flesh. Like maggots or carrion beetles, ghouls thrive in place rank with decay and death. A ghoul haunts a place where it can gorge on dead flesh and decomposing organs. When it can't feed on the dead, it pursues living creatures and attempts to make corpses of them. Though they gain no nourishment from the corpses they devour, ghouls are driven by an unending hunger that compels them to consume. A ghoul's undead flesh never rots, and this monster can persist in a crypt or tomb for untold ages without feeding. Their abyssal origins. Darakhul, the first of their kind, was an elf worshipper of Orcus. Turning against his own people, he feasted on humanoid flesh to honor the demon prince of undeath. As a reward for his service, Orcus transformed Darakhul into the first ghoul. Oh, what a nice gift he's given him.
It was a nice gift. I gave him eternal life. Or close to it.
Darakhul served Orcus faithfully in the abyss, creating ghouls from the demon lord's other servants until an incursion by Ghoul,
I hate that guy. He's irritating.
the demonic Gnoll lord, robbed Darakhul of his abyssal domain. When Orcus would not intervene on his behalf, Darakhul
These kids gotta learn to run on their own.
Darakhul turned to the elf gods for salvation, and they took pity on him and helped him escape certain destruction. Since then, elves have been immune to the ghoul's paralytic touch. And then they list ghast, as Orcus sometimes infuses a ghoul with a stronger dose of abyssal energy, making a ghast. Whereas ghouls are little more than savage beasts, a ghast is cunning and can inspire a pack of ghouls to follow its command.
Orcus has a special bond with that ghoul. I'll make it a ghast. Orcus doesn't like elves.
Now the Darakhul, they play on a whole different plane. For those who run Underdark or Darklands or Hollow Earth campaigns and are looking for someone to toe the line of the constant big bad other than the Drow, I present Kobold Press own Darakhul. There'll be a link to the campaign module in the description. So without further ado, let's everybody get to the chopper. Let's go. Deep under the tiny duchy of Moragul and Dorish lies the heart of a dark empire. The empire of the ghouls, flesh-eating and blasphemous worshippers of the god of death, hunger and darkness who visit surface only to feed. Their empire rose long ago with the first Darakhul to answer a diabolous summons. The Darakhul were born of strange magic, ghouls with intelligence, with necromantic power, and with the ambition to rule everything below the earth. Some say the first of them became undead through sheer will and boundless depravity. Others say that the Darakhul are the children of a mythical ghoul dragon named Daruk, who still roams the gray wastelands between life and death. Mostly, though, the truth is lost. The first centuries before the Ghoul Empire rose are largely hidden from history. The Darakhul may have been smarter, stronger, or more ruthless than ghasts or common ghouls, but they were also fewer in number. Each Darakhul sought power over his fellows, creating an endless line of petty kings, hunger cults led by charismatic death priests, and necromantic kingdoms founded on the back of a single eldritch master. Nothing came of them but more effective looting of the tombs and cemeteries. And when the early kingdoms are remembered at all among the Darakhul, it is the time of the warring kings. The true birth of Darakhul power begins with their emperors. The dread and endless imperium of the Darakhul is the undead civilization buried deep beneath the earth, feeding on flesh and always extending its power, fighting an eternal war against all that lives and breathes. Well hidden, its growth in strength, in knowledge, and in numbers, speed and ferocity carried the Darakhul to their first conquest. Cunning magic and ruthless rage have kept their empire together. Their emperor's plan and his followers' unwavering loyalty will propel the empire ever forward. Deep under the earth, stretching from below the Iron Crags, well hidden, the empire has abided its time, growing in under the Margrave Forest, and as far north as the southern stretch. Knowledge and numbers, speed and ferocity. Krakova lies a dark empire. It is home to flesh-eating and carried the Darakhul to their first conquest. Cunning, blasphemous worshippers of the god of death, hunger, magic, and ruthless rage have kept their empire together. 4 great emperors ruled the ghouls, each giving homage to the death god Anu Akma. Now, Anu Akma, the lord of the underworld, takes various forms and names, but he is always among the foremost gods of the Darakhul. Ghouls believe they are his favored children, and all of the species were created to feed them. In the Imperium, Anu Akma's priests are everywhere, and nobles and commoners alike closely follow his oracles and scriptures. He is venerated as the greatest of the gods for the Darakhul. Now, some of the other pantheon for the Darakhul, they also pay homage to Mordigian, the demon lord of the ghouls, also called Vardisian. To honor the gods, each emperor expanded the empire below the earth through conquest. Ghouls have few friends, and their violent empire is constantly at war. For the most part, their wars have been successful ones. Now you'll see that they are definitely a warring group, much like the Drow. Now the other god that they worship, Varasane, the god of hunger. Loved by even the least of ghouls, Varasane is a controversial deity, sometimes known as the unsatiated god, or by the much older name of Mordigian. Varasane's nature and stasis is much debated among the Darakhul. There are frequent purges and charges of heresy among the priesthood. Worshippers of Varasane are splintered into several sects with conflicting creeds. These include the bloated path, which preaches giving into gluttony, allowing hunger to grow unchecked. The satiated hunger path, whose adherents transcend the need to feed through meditation and spiritual discipline. The Creed of All Flesh, which is an organization that honors an aspect of Vardasian called the Father of the High Feast. The Endless Gullet, and the Cult of the Hungry Dusk. Among the beggar ghouls, these distinctions don't matter as much as the ability of prayer to Vardasian to ease the suffering of the starving. Ghoul theology is usually pragmatic, but discussions of the nature of hunger, feeding and flesh become quite agitated. The Hunger God's cult has been suppressed many times for preaching against the feeding laws or for threatening to turn the Imperium into a theocracy called the Kingdom of Hunger. But it has never disappeared altogether. The cult's relationship to the primal impulse that drives ghouls gives it power. Their conflicting urges to overcome that hunger or to give in to gluttony make it difficult for the Emperor to suppress worshippers of this god, no matter how dangerous its rabble-rousing priests become. The red and white shrine of Ardasian in Darakhul is the best-known temple in the Imperium. The current high priest in Combra Grimscribe, a master of the satiated hunger path whose appetites have been consumed by Bardasian as a blessing. He currently works atop the prominence of Anu Akma's church. Simbra's biggest rival is Randomir Maralbright, the ambitious high priest of the Bone Cathedral in Darakhul. The purple worm is Varsane's most favored holy beast, which is terrifying. Though he also has, the typical bats and serpents and oozes among his sacred animals. Now, to honor these guards, each emperor expanded the empire below the earth through conquest. Ghouls have few friends, and their violent empire is constantly at war. For the most part, their wars have been successful ones. The first emperor, Darul the Bonebreaker, worked for 23 years to unite the scattered Darakhul lords and petty kings under his command, and indeed he destroyed them all or forced them to swear allegiance to him. The ghouls measure time from the year when his greatest foes bowed to him. With their fealty, his former foes were granted titles and offices. They became the founders of the Temple of the Hunger God, the Fane of the Necrophagy, the General of the Royal Bastards Legion. The best title went to the victor, of course, as Darul crowned himself Emperor.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
His rule did not last. Darul was destroyed in battle, leading the charge that broke the defending lines at the last Darrow city of Gondorif. He had ruled just 9 years as emperor of all the ghouls, but he laid the foundation for everything that was to come, their magic, their legions, and their aristocracy, their rival dukes, priests, and marquises. His first victories against the Dark Elves and the Deep Dwarfs destroyed entire cities of the Spider Goddess and the Forge God Vundlin, bringing thousands of slaves into the flesh markets. The pattern of expansion was set, using the ghouls' magic of feeding and frenzy, of shadows and death. The Darakhul necromancers grew more powerful than any known on the surface world. Their unceasing toil made them strong. Their armies created new soldiers with each victory. Second to sit on the throne was one of Darul's spawn, Empress Hersha Winterblood's power derived from her fortune in battle. She was the only surviving general at Gondorif, so she returned home in triumph and claimed the throne. Through a powerful priest of Anu Akma and an able strategist, she failed to keep an eye on her closest followers, dying 12 years later in a coup.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but two things right now. Jack and shit. Jack left town.
Vermesail, the grave dancer, the general who staged the coup, was paranoid and suspicious because of how he seized power. He turned many Darakhul generals, priests, and necromancers against one another rather than turning outward to seize new territory. He devolved what was done before. The emperor shrank during his reign, and Vermesail died in magical combat against Drow assassins, whom were devoured by masses of gods shortly after they cut Vermesail down. Vermesail's successor died at his side. In the interim, almost all the dukes declared themselves emperor, including the Beggar King. When Duke Nicoforus' legions marched into the White City, the Beggar King was put to flight. Since that day, the fourth emperor, Nicoforus the Pale, has ruled for 20 years with cunning and relentless cruelty. He recently took revenge on the Drow for his predecessor's death, first sending a bone collective to assassinate the Drow High Priestess, then destroying their city utterly, taking all Dark Elves prisoner, eating the weak and transforming the strongest. Under Nicoforus' rule, the necrophagy prosper, for he trusts the arcane powers more than the divine ones of the various high priests. Demons claim that Vermesail, the demon lord of ghouls, has grown in stature in the abyss with the Emperor's success. The Ghoul Emperor appears as a man of middle years with black hair and flesh as white as ivory. He wears black and purple cloths and a silvery crown set with emeralds. His feet are sheathed in black boots, and his arms and fingers are covered in rich gold and silver jewelry, and he holds a skull-topped scepter like he's pimping. Now, Emperor Nicoforus the Pale rules the subterranean empire of Darakhul. Deep beneath the surface, in the lightless tunnels and vast chambers, the civilized ghouls of the empire carved glory from flesh and stone under Nicoforus' leadership.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
He led the empire to victory against the Dark Elves, and now that race is all but extinct in any territory the ghouls control. He has unexpected courtesy. The ghouls are content to reside in the lightless depths beneath the earth for now. But the Emperor muses about what prizes exist under the sky. Emperor Nicoforus has a soul of steel and hunger like the deepest chasms of the underworld. Despite his ambitions, he's extremely civilized, treating even hated enemies with strict courtesy, even up to the moment that he devours their bones. Of course, he has that undead nature. The Emperor doesn't require air, food, drink, or sleep. We're on the move again here at Orcus. Thanks for checking in with us today. We got plenty more coming at you. You're still here, smash that like and sub buttons. We're going to be back with part 2 of this series. The ghouls. The ghoul. Ghoul. The ghouls. Thank you. Thank you very much.